AOC and Democrats thought they had the perfect talking point: compare voter ID laws to Jim Crow, accuse Republicans of voter suppression, and hope nobody questions the narrative. Then, Congressman Wesley Hunt stepped in and completely dismantled the argument. What happened next wasn't just a defense of voter ID. It was a devastating reality check that left the entire premise hanging by a thread. Democrats spent this hearing arguing that voter ID laws are the modern version of Jim Crow. They claimed requiring identification to vote is discriminatory, burdensome, and designed to suppress minority voters. Then Wesley Hunt stepped in and completely flipped the conversation. Hunt reminded everyone that his parents actually lived through the Jim Crow South. They experienced real segregation, real discrimination, and real barriers that most Americans today can barely imagine. That's why he said comparing voter ID laws to Jim Crow is not only wrong, it's offensive. And then he asked the question that cuts right to the heart of the debate. If Americans can get IDs for everyday life, why is it suddenly impossible when it comes to voting? Think about it. You need an ID to drive a car. You need an ID to board a plane. You need an ID to open a bank account. You need an ID for countless responsibilities that Americans handle every single day. Yet Democrats want people to believe that requiring identification to vote is somehow an unreasonable burden. Hunt called that the soft bigotry of low expectations. And that's what made this moment so powerful. Because Hunt wasn't speaking as a political activist. He was speaking as the son of people who actually lived through segregation, and as a congressman who represents a majority white district. His message was simple. America has come a long way. We should never forget the horrors of real Jim Crow. But we also shouldn't cheapen that history by comparing it to basic election security measures. The truth is, most Americans support voter ID because they believe election integrity matters. And Hunt argued that requiring identification doesn't stop people from voting. It helps ensure that every legal vote counts. That's why this exchange is spreading all over the internet. Instead of accepting the narrative, Wesley Hunt challenged it directly and forced Democrats to defend assumptions that millions of Americans simply don't buy anymore. If you think voter ID is common sense, hit that like button, subscribe to Congress Parrot, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next political showdown. And let us know in the comments, should voter ID be required nationwide